Alright folks, Pitching Ace 88, we are back playing Criminal Case on Facebook. We are heading on to chapter number 3 of Writer's Block, case 21. And Gloria just got really soaked. We better make it snappy. Oh snap. So, let's head on to chapter number 3. Chad had mentioned a third kid, and I was like, no. I am exhausted and tired every second of the day with 2. No. Not adding another one to that mix. No nos. Don't be getting any crazy ideas. Frog. Where the French toast is the frog? There it is. We will go on to chapter 3, but no kid. No third kid. No. 14. Holy moly. That just takes people that are stronger than I am, for sure. Ace, hope this recording device is worth hanging around while this place falls apart. Let's crack that password at the station. And look, Ace, an advanced manuscript of Zur's return. But somebody scrawled on it, "What about me?" across it. A sample of that pink goo might tell us who. So let's return to the office and... What are you two doing here? We've got to get out of this place. Come with me, Secret Agent Ace. There's a passage Reggie Leo showed me. Finally, something that thoughtless jerk said is actually useful. Wait, thoughtless jerk? You'll have some explaining to do with us, Miss Crosby, but we better do that topside. Yep. That makes sense. She's not as happy with him. But again, she's not a member of the society, so she can't be the killer. Now, Miss Crosby, what's all this about calling Reggie Leo a thoughtless jerk? Well, he's speaking ill of the dead, but that's exactly what he was. That guy was getting in my way and ruining my business. He was an author, like Mr. Leota running your tour guide business. Leota would go on and on about Zur, so much that people stopped coming on my tours. I started losing income, and I need to make a living too. What good is there crawling around if the ruins if nobody's paying? As far as I'm concerned, Reggie Leota was a regular Klaatu, and I won't tell you what that means in Zurden. Well, Miss Crosby, I hope you didn't resort to extreme measures to get Mr. Leota out of your hair. She didn't. She's missing a lot of the key characteristics. Now that you've unlocked the voice recorder, Ace, let's listen to see who it belongs to. Zur's Return, Chapter 17. Judging from the deities depicted on these cistern columns, the Zurns were a reverent culture. They obviously... Well, that sounds like Reggie Leo dictating his research, so this voice recorder belonged to the victim. Ace, let's send this recorder to Gabriel and see if there's anything he can discover about the victim's profile. Again, thank everyone that's watching on YouTube. We got like 80 plus people watching. If you guys want to chat, head over to Twitch. We don't show YouTube because YouTube has been known to spoil in the comments. So alright, Ace, let's get that pink substance you collected off the victim's manuscript under the microscope. Alright, so what have we here? There we go. That pink goo is chewing gum. Who'd spit that on the victim's manuscript? But you're right, Leo's friend Allie Salinger was blowing bubbles when we spoke to her, so she's the one who wrote What About Me. Apparently Alice Salinger had a bone to pick with the victim. Let's go find out why. I'm sure because she helped him a lot with the research. I'm sure that's the case. Miss Salinger, would you explain this message you scribbled on the victim's manuscript? You don't sound too impressed. Wait, how did you find that? Well, there's no sense lying about it now. The truth is, Reggie's newfound fame was going to his head. He gave me an advanced copy of his book. When I looked at the people he thanked in the dedication, I wasn't one of them. So that's what you meant by when you wrote What About Me. If it wasn't for me, Reggie wouldn't have been able to write a book in that first place. He floundered for years struggling to get things together. I was always there for him, his constant rock through thick and thin. And what happens when Reggie finally succeeds? He drops me like dead weight, like I was nothing. Let's just hope you didn't drop a dead weight on him in return. I mean, think about it. How hard is it just to say thanks to, like, people? I mean, I guess your ego could be that big, but it seems like a small deal. Ace, Gloria, I heard you were both underground when that cistern nearly collapsed. I'm glad you're both alright. Well, we're both dry now, at least, but my days of underground exploration are over. Now, what can you tell us about that voice recorder? It's been an exciting few hours, Ace. This recorder certainly gave me a glimpse into a historian's mind. The entries are Reggie Leo's private musings about his work and the people around him. Would you care to listen? Unless there's something relevant to our investigation here, we'll take a rain check. Well, there was an entry recorded a few days ago about one of your suspects. It's right here, Ace. That fossilizer loser from the museum, Jebediah Cobb, asked if he could read my manuscript. The fool actually thought he could contribute to my research. I told Cobb he could take his obsolete research and get lost. He was pretty mad, but who cares about a grumpy old man? So Ace, our victim and the museum's curator, argued. So much for mutual respect between colleagues. Let's get Mr. Cobb's side of the story. Secretion Ace, did you know the Zern word for danger also means adventure? They were a magnificent society. And what's the Zern word for explanation, Mr. Cobb? That's exactly what you owe us, considering you argued with the victim. So you know about our squabble. That whole unfortunate incident would have never happened if that whippersnapper wasn't so pig-headed. I already told you that I have extensive knowledge of the Zerdans. In fact, I literally wrote the book on the subject, The Lost City of Zerda. So my research and theories have been the central resource for Zern historical study for decades. Then Reggie Leota comes along to take his new take on Zerdans, and when you offered your expertise, he spat in your face. Must have bruised your ego. Bruised my ego? I was angry the young man could be so downright rude. I regretted even shaking the man's hand. I sanitized immediately. But did I feel threatened? Hardly. An upstart like him with his publicity events and websites? I've been an expert on Zerda for years. My book is history, not hype. Snap. Well, the upcoming release of Zerda's Return earned Reggie Leo's public acclaim. It seemed to have been very popular among those close to him. The victim's friend was angry. He dropped her like a dirty rag, saying his newfound fame had gone to his head. Tour guide Laura Crosby believed the victim was costing her money. Jebediah Cobb, who was an author himself, had little respect for the victim's research. But we still don't know who wanted the victim dead. You're right, Ace, but the killer of the victim views his new museum garden, so we should take another look there. Alright. Well spotted, Ace. This is a glossary of Zerdan terms. Those symbols are definitely from the Zerdan language. Proud, soul, body, crushed. Why do these words sound familiar? Wait, Ace, these are the words the killer wrote in that Zerdan threat to the victim. The proud will be crushed in body and soul. So this glossary belonged to the killer. Vacuuming up those black fibers could lead us right to them. I agree, Ace. Sifting through that pile of leaves could prove worthwhile. But we better hurry. There's a killer on the loose. Alright, well, within those pile, I'm sure is the murder weapon, because we actually haven't found it yet. This almost looks like human hair or something. Hey, so let's say on the killer's trail and get these black fibers from the Zerdan glossary to the lab. Ah, you're right. The black fibers could definitely mean that it's a security guard. Whoa. That's like an ancient club, yeah. Oh my goodness, Ace, there's some sort of stone club under these leaves, and it's covered in blood. Martine said the murder weapon would be a heavy blunt object. This certainly fits the bill. Let's have Rita examine the stone club and see what she can tell us about it. Right in time, Ace. I'll get the gory part out of the way first. I double-checked with the lab boys, and they confirmed that the bloodstains on this stone club is a match for the victims. Ah, it's definitely a murder weapon. A magnificent weapon at that. According to my research, this is an Zerdan infantry club, brandished by soldiers in their army. This club could be centuries old. Who knows what battles it's seen. The warriors would have wielded it in their hands. Well, I'm as enthusiastic as you are, Reader, but right now we got more interest in the person who wielded it to murder Reggie Liotta. Well, at the base of the club, where the killer would have gripped it, I found traces of isopropyl alcohol, which is in this concentration is a solution used to clean glasses. And one thing Zerdans didn't do centuries ago was wear eyeglasses, which means your killer does. The killer made quite a spectacle of themselves with the stone club, Ace. Their eyeglasses have given them away. I don't think the security guard is that. Man, that would have been my guess. I was wrong. Hey, has ever told you that my name lends itself to the most popular timeouts in the world, the Winchester knot? Oh, here we go again. Hush, Amir. Hey, you see, Ace, it's how I wear my own tie. Quick loop around here. Pull the long around first, back around the collar, and voila, perfect Winchester knot. Well, this is riveting, Mr. Winchester, but I'm hoping that this has something to do with those black fibers Ace found in the coach glossary. Well, of course it does. Those fibers are black threads of silk, or to be more precise, finely spun silk, the material used to knit a black tie. Your killer must have left some threads from their garment behind by accident. To their peril, Ace. Reggie Liotta's killer will be fit to be tied when you catch up to them. Boom. Boom. Reggie Liotta's killers eluded us long enough, Ace. Grab the handcuffs and we're making an arrest. Alright guys, how many years? How many years? I'm gonna guess 15? I'm gonna guess 15. I'm gonna guess it's not that much. Oh, he's not wearing a tie. It's the professor. Wow. Jebediah. Jebediah Cobb, you're under arrest for the murder of Reggie Liotta. Me, a murderer? That's preposterous. We had our differences, but I wouldn't kill the man. We blatantly threatened the victim writing that Zerdan message on the sundial. I was speaking of Zerdan when you were in elementary school, but that doesn't mean I wrote the message. Yeah, we know you bludgeoned Mr. Liotta with that stone club. Your glasses cleaner was all over the handle. Bludgeoned? How horrid. I'm a museum curator, not a savage. I abhor violence. But you checked the victim's pulse to make sure he was dead. We found your hand sanitizer on his neck. Admit it, Mr. Cobb, you were jealous of Reggie and his book, even though you said it was all hype and no history. It's exactly the opposite. I killed the man because he knew too much history. Wait, what does that mean? The truth is, I did read Reggie's manuscript. He couldn't resist the chance to gloat, so he let me see it. I was horrified by the revelations he had uncovered. His publication completely debunked all of my theories about the Zerdans. You see, my book purports that the Zerdans were a patriarchal society. It was my basis for all my research on the subject. But Mr. Liotta had studied the resurfaced ruins and discovered that they were a matriarchal society after all. Zerdan culture wasn't male-dominated whatsoever. Wait, so you killed him because he knew more than you? No, I had to silence him, stop him from publishing Zer's Return. My life's work was a fraud. I couldn't let the truth get out. I had to keep it quiet. So I confronted him after the meet and greet and begged him to reconsider. But naturally he wouldn't, so I lashed out and grabbed one of the weapons and hit him. It was a reckless act of passion, regardless of the threats I made. I didn't mean to kill him. Everything I ever worked for, all I believed was a lie. I couldn't let it go out. You must understand. That's for the judge to decide, Jebediah Cobb. You're under arrest for the murder of Reggie Liotta. Yep. You knew that makes sense. The guy was crazy. Jebediah Cobb, you stand before this court charged with the murder of Ray Liotta. How do you plead? Guilty, Your Honor. I killed that young man. I didn't mean to, but his book shattered my world and everything I held to be true. He had to be stopped. That may be what you believe, Mr. Cobb, but murdering Mr. Liotta won't change the fact that he was right. Ultimately, your reckless act of violence is futile because the truth cannot be silenced. Mr. Liotta's book will be published. Jebediah Cobb, I hereby sentence you to 10 years in prison for the murder of Reggie Liotta. 10 years? I'll probably die in prison. A defender of truth, a historian, guilty of murder? What have I done? Yeah, 10 years makes sense. Usually when they confess to it and it's an accident, that's usually what they get. Wow, 110 people, so that's almost 150 people watching this live. Thank you guys all for watching. If you guys are on YouTube, head over to Twitch if you want to leave a comment. Otherwise, hit that like button. I appreciate you guys all coming on and watching it. There's one thing I've learned in my years of law enforcement, Ace. It's that crime has no logic. A man in Jebediah Cobb's position, a curator of the Grimsby Museum, historian and self-proclaimed defender of truth, murders a fellow researcher in the heat of the moment. All in a futile attempt to suppress what he knows to be true. Well, despite Reggie's Liotta murder, Zerda Returns will be published. The truth about the matriarch of Zerda will see the light of day. Hey Ace, sorry to interrupt, but while we're on the subject of Zerdans, something important has come up and I need your help. Yes, sir, we will help you out for sure. See you guys in Chapter 4. This has been Pitching Ace 88. Over and out.